can't remember. Buckner, you can't remember, so it's possible. Torgerson, I mean, anything is possible, but I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't have a reason to. I have a favorite thing on my phone, which pocket dials, but I'm not sure if I had that phone or not. Buckner, okay. Torgerson, I could have had that phone, but I would have had no reason to call anyone, right? I read that right?
Yes.
Now, this is going to be one of the first times, I don't know if we've done this yet, several times where it's apparent Torgerson is denying that he's calling Miss Lowe's, he's calling Eric Mahomes' cell phone, right?
Right.
Which we knew Stephanie Lowe to have. We later learned, right?
Yes.
He doesn't want law enforcement to know that, right? Apparently.
Apparently.
So he's essentially making up a fictional character by the name of E, right?
That's what we suspected, yes.
Well, you guys did a ton of investigation to determine that there was no other E in the area, right?
None that we knew of.
The next section is when Detective Buckner, I'm going to move to page 24, is interested in whether Torgerson has done in the past any cleaning at Miss Lowe's apartment, right?
Right.
By this time, November 7, 2011, law enforcement was clearly aware of the smell of bleach in the residence, right?
Yes.
And had concluded that somebody cleaned up the crime scene that led to Miss Lowe's demise, correct?
It appeared that way, yes.
Right. Buckner said, so, and I mean Detective Buckner, but I'm going to say Buckner because that's how it's depicted in the transcript. No disrespect intended, okay? Buckner, so if your DNA is in the apartment, where do you think it would be? Torgerson, probably everywhere because my kids were there. I was there. And Andrea was there. I helped them move in. Buckner, okay. Torgerson, I helped them clean up. I helped them move in. I cooked there. Buckner, helped them clean up and cook and stuff? Torgerson, yeah, well, when they moved in, I helped them move in. Buckner, oh, those are, and what did you do? Torgerson, and I helped them clean up, and when they were in the process of moving in. Buckner, okay. Torgerson, move the table in, carpets in, the rug, yeah, it's probably everywhere unless they cleaned over it, and then I don't know. Buckner, well, that's why I'm asking because Torgerson was over my DNA. Even my kids would be in there. Buckner, okay. Torgerson, Andrea with her kids. So everybody's kind of speaking over each other here, aren't they?
Yeah.
Buckner, and Andrea too, sure? That makes sense if you guys were all over there the time then. Torgerson, well, she was. And what I remember, she went over there twice. One time I cooked spaghetti over there, and then she came over with her kids and ate. Well, Buckner, well, did you help them clean up, you said? Torgerson, before we moved in, before they moved in. Buckner, the apartment wasn't in good condition in that. Torgerson, yeah, it was bad. Buckner, so what did you have to do in cleaning? What kind of stuff did you do? Torgerson, scrub everything pretty much. It was pretty awful. I guess that was deal for them to get in. They had to clean up. Buckner, so you're there scrubbing? Torgerson, yeah, because I helped them with floors, and we were going to tear the carpet up, I think, and I went and the middle floor, what was that? The living room floor. Buckner, no comment. Torgerson, just separates the carpet and the floor. Buckner, Torgerson, I started pulling that one corner up to see if they wanted to tear the carpet or just see if it was hardwood floor through it, because she was telling Eric that she wanted to tear the carpet up and redo the hardwood. Buckner, what was the final decision? Torgerson, decision is make it, and then there was some laughter, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Buckner, so what did you use to clean the floors? Like a vacuum cleaner? Or what are you talking about? Torgerson, yeah. Buckner, brush or something or what? B. Torgerson, no, it wasn't no brush, just mop. Mop and scrub the floors. I brought the vacuum over, my vacuum. Buckner, do you mean you brought your own cleaning stuff over? Torgerson, no. Buckner, used theirs? Torgerson, wasn't nothing like that, no. Buckner, oh, okay. Torgerson, I just came in to help. I didn't come in to clean the effing house. He said the word, I say effing, you with me?
Yes.
Buckner, you weren't you weren't there to like do a Mr. Clean job on it? Torgerson, no, I wasn't there to do that. Buckner, okay. Torgerson, I just come in, drank a couple of beers with them, and helped them clean out a little bit. It was just like a friend thing, you know, helping Eric. It wasn't, no, you pay me to do this, and we'll come clean your house. No, it wasn't nothing like that. Did I read that right?
Yes.
But then you're going to revisit the cleaning with them again. And we didn't address this in direct examination on page 47 if you move to that. And I apologize, Lieutenant and the court, if this is tedious, but I'm trying to get some context. Page 47, Buckner. Okay, so we'll go back to this cleaning thing again at the apartment. You know, you're mopping the floors or whatever you're doing, scrubbing them. Torgerson, I don't know, just like brought the vacuum over. Vacuumed the floors. Might have helped her sweep up the trash. Swept. And then we put things, you know, in order, like together, like the tables. They didn't have the furniture at this when they first moved in because, you know, comes in like a week or two later. That's when I helped them get the furniture. Buckner, come get it? I think he means get it now, right?
Yeah.
Which is a business that rents furniture, right?
Correct.
Torgerson, well, yeah, it's cleaned, it's been, get on my effing floor, scrub their floors, that would be funny. I ain't no maid. Buckner, but you're not pouring bleach out and bleaching it up and that? Torgerson, no, I ain't. Buckner, not doing anything like that, like it's a clean job? Torgerson, no. Buckner, no. All right. I read that right?
Yes.
So that was the cell phone challenge via records, and prior cleaning up was major topics for law enforcement in this first interview, right? Well, on this November 7th interview.
Yes.
The next section that was addressed is that Torgerson failed to tell, he's challenged about failing to tell Mary Wogernes, Detective Mary Wogernes, on his initial interview about taking the boat up north, right?
Right.
I'm looking, if you want to I'm not going to go through this one. Page 29 and 30, I think, were referenced in that regard when we played the clip from those pages. Just so we have context here, Detective Mary Wogernes, she's no longer with the department, right?
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
She interviewed Torgerson, I think, October 11, 2010, right?
I believe so, yes.
Videotape, right? No, that
No,
one
it
wasn't.
No.
Right. Right. And Torgerson, Detective Wogernes asks Torgerson for his activities around the time of Miss Lowe's homicide, including thereafter, right?
Yes.
And he doesn't tell her about taking the boat.
No.
And to be fair, the only time he's ever going to tell about taking the boat up is when Yvonne Wadinsky reports a finding that the boat's up there and then it was taken up there at an unusual time, right?
Right.
Got it. I think the last, we just got a little bit more on October. I'm going to go a little quicker here. This will be tedious otherwise. The next one was, again, on the boat business, and I'm on page 50 of the transcript. A clip was played about a concern about snow in the middle of October. Remember that?
Yes.
You say, I'm in the middle of 50, okay? Cold, and you wanted to get up there. You said something about the snow. Torgerson, yeah, because it was about to snow. It was the middle of October, end of October. November comes, snow comes, and because we only had a two-car garage, we called, yeah, it would have been October 10th that day, Sunday. Torgerson, right, and I didn't take, yeah, oh yeah, you're right. Cold, and there was talk of snow coming or something. Torgerson, boy, I don't know. That was just to get preparing, because I had already, in like a couple weeks or a month in between, that I had her ask her mom if I could take the boat up north. So, more of an explanation that of why he's taking the boat up north that we later learned to find out is bogus, because we know why the boat was taken up.
Right.
But both he and Miss Wadinsky talked about a purpose of taking the boat up north. A secondary purpose, if one at all, was to make room in their garage, right?
Yes.
If you turn to page 61, that's the last section that was brought to your attention. And it's, again, this business about why are you calling Eric Mahomes' cell phone so many times, starting at 3:47 in the morning till 4:33 in the morning, right?
Yes.
And Torgerson this is where he's talking about the other E, right?
Correct.
And at the end, Detective Buckner of this exchange said, but this is E. This is E as in Stephanie's boyfriend. And Torgerson says, I understand what you're saying. Right? Page 62, bottom of 62.
Yes.
I mean, he agrees, does Torgerson, to talk to law enforcement every time they ask to talk to him, right?
Yes.
Because this was like, if I remember correctly, was this like the third interview in this series? Do you remember?
Yes.
But this one, we know we have some patent lies, right?
Yes.
But during the course of this interview, you and Detective Buckner report to Torgerson. Let me back up. I mean, what you're trying to do here is resolve, even as early as, not that early, it's a year after she's just straight. It'd be nice to resolve the case right during this interview, right?
Absolutely.
Like to get the truth, right?
Yes.
Would have spared another several years of investigation.
Yes.
And towards that end, I'm looking at 69 now. You indicate there's no shortage of possibilities here for suspects. Do I have that right? 69.
Which
Page
one are we
69.
on the Buckner interview?
Yeah, I'm still on that. I just finished up November 7th.
I'm on 69. What page or what line?
Your last statement starts off with, there's no shortage of possibilities here for suspects, right?
Right.
And is that in the context of the discussion being this case involving drugs and money, essentially?
Yeah.
And if I were to tell you that Detective Buckner's report of the interview reads, Lowe's involvement in drug traffic dealing was offered by Lieutenant Kolb and I as a potential reason why someone may have wanted to harm Lowe, that is what was communicated, right?
Yes.
I'm going to provide you the next transcript from the December 21, 2011 interview. All right, sir?
Okay.
May I approach to do so? Thank you. this is an interview between Torgerson, you, and Detective Holtz, right?
Yes.
Detective Holtz, you agree with me, she kind of takes the lead here, right?
Yes.
The first thing brought to the jury's attention in this interview, if I remember correctly, was this business about where is your shirt, which is the striped polo, and your shoes, right?
Yes.
All right. Nobody can find it, right?
Right.
We're about 14 months after Miss Lowe has disappeared, correct? At the time of this interview.
Yes.
And the purpose of wanting the clothing and shoes is what? Probably obvious, but I gotta ask.
We considered him a suspect in a homicide, and potentially there could be blood on those clothing items.
And Torgerson tells you about both. I'm looking on page 7, a few lines down. It's been like a year, so there's no telling. Did I read that right?
I'm sorry, I missed the page.
Page 7.
7?
Holt, do you know where they are? Torgerson, I have no idea. It's been like a year, so there's no telling. Did I read that right?
Yes.
And that's a theme that he continues on, right?
Right.
Kind of explains to you that he's kind of a wanderer, and these items of clothing could be anywhere, right?
Correct.
But he does say during the course of this interview, and now I'm on page 9, Detective Holtz says, "You're a shoe guy." Torgerson says, "No." Page 9, middle page. You with me?
Yes.
"No, and I wasn't until I met this one stripper." I read that right?
Yes.
Now, what continues on, so I don't have to bore people, hear my voice more, is there's Torgerson indicating that he got a variety of clothes, be it shoes or shirts, or pants, from a female stripper in town, right?
Yes.
And you remember, without me going through this, that he actually provides her address, right?
Yeah, a general location that Detective Holtz recognized.
And Detective Holtz understood, and there's an indication within the transcript that this was a woman who was involved with crack cocaine trafficking, right?
Objection. At this point, I don't know the relevance of that.
Well, it's within a statement, so I guess under the doctrine of completeness would be the relevance.
But her name and her address and her drug trafficking are nowhere in this, so it's not actually completeness.
Well, Detective Holtz knew who the woman who he claimed he got the clothes from was, right?
Yeah.
That night. So that's just Torgerson at least trying to explain whether it's true or not that he was in pursuit of drugs that morning, right?
That's what he says.
Torgerson, I'm pretty sure I was going to buy some dope. Somewhere I probably called somebody. I'm at bottom of 17. Holtz, is that why you called Eric's phone? Torgerson, that's what I said. There's a lot of E's in my phone. I read that right?
Yes.
Go to page 20, would you, Detective? Or Lieutenant? top of 20, I don't think that was addressed. Let's move on. Sorry about that. I think the next topic is why, I think we're back on why he's contacting E. So if you'd move to, Mr. Mahomes, if you'd move to page 26. Cold, bottom of 26, 4 speakers up, Lieutenant. You know, it's very clear that Stephanie was wanting a ride from you to go get Kay. Torgerson, and you keep telling me that, but Cold, yeah. Torgerson, I promise you that she did not mention nothing to me about that. Holtz, she told multiple people. Torgerson, she probably did just to throw them off. That way they would quit bugging her. You know, that's part of the game. You put shit on other people so they'll quit bugging you. And why not put it off on me because my name is Spider? People don't F with me. Cold, well, Torgerson, that's my rep out there, you know. People hate me, but they don't F with me. I get what I want and do as I please. Cold, but Kay said the same thing, that he was expecting to get a ride up to Torgerson. This was when Eric was out. Cold, huh? Torgerson, when I took Kay, Cold, at this time, when this text to him or what? Torgerson, when I took Kay, I mean, Cold, I mean you told us, Torgerson, Eric was out. Cold, that you knew Eric was locked up this weekend, right? People are speaking over each other, right?
Yeah.
Torgerson, when I took Kay and Stephanie, Eric was out. I never know nothing else about taking Kay nowhere else. I went and met Kay, took Kay to his car one day because he broke down. Other than that, I don't know nothing about. Did I read that right?
Yes.
Now, we are aware that at 12:58 a.m., Miss Lowe left a voicemail message for this Kay fellow, right?
Yes.
Asking him to get back in touch with her because it was effing important, right?
Yes.
And we also know, you ain't gonna know this, that there's been a stipulation before this jury that Kay was not responsible for Miss Lowe's death. But I read the transcript correctly, correct?
Correct.
The next, I'm just giving some context to some things that some audio that the state played, and I think the next context needs to come on page 30, at least from my standpoint. And I forget what category this was in, the state's purpose in playing it, so I won't even bother. I just want to give context to what we heard. Top of page 30. Let me see if I can summarize it rather than reading it. This is, again, both either you and or Detective Holtz trying to find out the purpose of Torgerson's, if any, cell phone activity. Is that fair, starting on page 30?
Yes.
So there's talk about, and again, I don't want to read this, so tell me if I'm summarizing it correctly, because you've been through this, you've read this transcript multiple times, right?
Yes.
And you've listened to that audio tape interview, videotape audio tape interview multiple times, right?
Yes.
So correct me if I've got this wrong rather than me reading it verbatim. There's a discussion about why him calling Gretchen Huff in the middle of the night, right?
Correct.
All right. And Torgerson says she's a female friend. Do I have that right?
Yes.
He's asked if he's dating her, and he says no, right?
Right.
but there's an ask, they ask if, you guys ask if he's involved in a sexual relationship, and Torgerson says, I was trying to be, right?
Right.
Torgerson says she's the manager at 2 hotels, right?
Right.
She lives in Weston, gives an area where she lives.
Correct.
And what he's saying is, Detective Holtz, you haven't slept with her? Torgerson, no. Holtz, trying to? Torgerson, trying to. Holtz, like a booty call type of thing? Torgerson, trying, but it didn't happen. Did I read that right?
Yes.
Holtz, do you guys, I'm on page 39, why would you be calling her? Try to hook up with her, obviously? Torgerson.
Page 31, I'm sorry.
Yeah, what'd I say?
39.
31. You guys, why would you be calling her? Try to hook up with her, obviously? Torgerson. Mm-hmm. Holtz, like out at the bar or go to her place, or what was your, Torgerson, anything I could. Do I have that right?
Yes.
And then, moving at the bottom of 31 on the top of page 32, and I think the state played some of this, is Detective Holtz is inquiring about another telephone number that Torgerson was calling in the middle of the night, that of a Jay Gutowski, right?
Correct.
And according to the transcripts, Detective Holtz knows who this fella is, and she says on page 32, 4 lines down, he likes to smoke crack, right?
Yes.
But it's apparent that Torgerson really can't place the guy, right?
Yes.
But you know from investigation in this case that Torgerson called a telephone number associated with that fellow, right?
Yes.
And you also learned that in other investigation, and it's even mentioned in this transcript, Holt says, you remember Jeff Borse, B-O-O-R-S-E, likes to smoke crack. She says that, right?
Yes.
And from other investigation, we learned that Borse and Gutowski hang around together for mostly back in 2010, the use of crack, right?
Yes.
And then Torgerson says on that topic, 3 lines up, like I said, I met a lot of people in that crack zone. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Moving on to 33, in response to that, Holtz, you say, bottom of 32, and we can go get photos of these guys too? Torgerson, yeah. I trust you're talking about Gutowski and Borse there, right?
Yes.
Holtz, smoking crack? Torgerson, I don't remember these guys. I don't remember him. Jay Gutowski, I'm not sure about Jay. Holtz, and then here you called Eric and Stephanie, as we can see, 11:47, the phone call. Torgerson, mm-hmm. Holtz, maybe you're trying to get some dope or something. Torgerson, probably. And then he mentions Jay Gutowski again, wondering about him, right?
Yes.
So at least there appears to be an admission that he's calling Eric and Stephanie Lowe to get dope, right?
Yes.
And then the rest of that dialogue goes on about how Torgerson would call the Mahomes and Lowe residence or some cell phone before he'd go over there, right?
Right.
Torgerson says, I would call him and he would tell me to call her, right?
Right.
Page 40, middle of the page. You ask Cole, when did you start looking for dope that night again? Torgerson says, I don't know, I'm always looking for dope. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Cole, always, and you think you were looking for crack that night. Torgerson, probably. Got that right?
Yes.
And what Torgerson had outlined just prior to that is that the first person he would typically contact amongst the Stephanie Lowe, Eric Mahomes drug trafficking group would be Mr. Mahomes, right?
Yes.
Page 46 is just a continuation of a theme where Torgerson claims he didn't see Stephanie Lowe that night, right?
Yes.
What page was that, Counsel?
46.
46. Take a look, if you would, we're almost done with this page. Take a look at page 53. Torgerson, four speakers down. When I bought drugs, I called Eric, and Eric would set it up if he wasn't available, and I would go pick it up. Cold, no comment, Torgerson, and that would be it. Boom, boom, and that's it. Cold, from who? Torgerson. From Stephanie, if I had to, or from Eric, and that was that. Cold, and where would you go when you would buy from Stephanie? Torgerson, wherever I had to go, wherever. Cold, into the apartment? Torgerson, she might come to me, she might meet me at Family Video. Cold, would you go into the apartment though? I mean, how did that? Torgerson, but I never bought dope there from the apartment. I never went up in there. I bought it from him when he was there, but never went there while she was there buying dope. Cold, so the times where you actually got it right from her hands, how did that go down? Torgerson, she might come out on the stairs, might go to Family Video, or she might come to my house. Cold, and so did you buy enough that you would sell when you bought it? Torgerson, most of the time. Cold, and it wasn't just for you, Torgerson, Did I read that right?
Yes.
Middle of 54. Colts, about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 speakers up. So you would have to call ahead of time, Torgerson, or ring the doorbell. Colts, tell him you were going to be there, or ring the doorbell on the bottom. Torgerson, but I always call before I go. Did I read that right?
Yes.
Holtz, I'm just going to keep going. Did they ever look out the window and see who was there? Torgerson, maybe. I would think so. You selling dope? I would probably. Holtz, right. And then go in there and play some video games, hang out, and Torgerson, and then go. Holtz, did you ever smoke the dope there? Torgerson, sometimes in the bathroom. Holtz, are we talking like weed? Are we talking or crack? Torgerson, crack. Did I read that right?
Yes.
Take a look at the last thing I think we were concerned about. Is on page 61 and following. And there's an inquiry in the middle about Torgerson not giving a detailed statement to Mary Detective Woganese the day after the homicide about his activities, right, essentially?
Yes.
Okay. And he says, I didn't want, top of 62, yeah, I didn't want to be having statements about people, drug dealers, and whatnot like that, so I kept it simple. Cold, okay. Torgerson, and tell her, yeah, I went over to this dope man's house and just drove around looking for dope and just put myself out there, and now. Did I read that right?
Yes.
What he's saying is he didn't want to tell Detective Morganese early on that he was looking for drugs, right?
Right.
Bottom of 64, heading on to 65 near the end. Now, recall, this interview, unlike all previous ones, is going to get a little heated near the end, isn't it?
Yes.
'64, cold. When it comes out that your DNA is there, or your DNA is underneath her fingernail, then we'll be left to assume that you did it intentionally. Torgerson, I didn't do it. There's no reason for it to be there. Did I read that right?
Yes.
The last interview about which you talked about, testified to in your direct examination, was September 17, 2014, right?
Yes.
And that is the day before Torgerson takes law enforcement, Wausau, various members of the Wausau Police Department, to the body. Oh, no, right.
Right.
In the beginning of that interview, on page 3, Torgerson is bemoaning the fact that he thinks he's being the scapegoat in the case, right? He uses that word?
Yes.
Go to page 12, please.
I don't have that transcript.
Oh, I gotta get it for you, sorry. May I approach, Judge? I'm coming near the end, okay? Thank you, sir. Can you identify it?
Yeah, this is the transcript from the September 17, 2014 interview that Detective Holtz and I did of Mr. Torgerson.
Page 12.
Sorry, what page?
12.
12.
Thank you, sir. Now, we got to provide some context on it. This isn't an interview where Kristopher Torgerson all of a sudden does the right thing and you guys go up there on September 17th to the basketball prison and he says, "Good to see you. I'm ready to tell you that I buried I hid the corpse." That's not what happened.
No.
He is confronted with the fact, by actual videotape statements, that Andrea Wadinsky has slipped, right?
Yes.
She is now telling law enforcement about the hiding of the corpse, amongst other things, right?
Yes.
Torgerson, it's also revealed to Torgerson that it's not just Andrea who's talking against you. Richard Hawkins has flipped as well, right?
Yes.
Richard Hawkins, you play a portion of Richard Hawkins' video in which it's revealed that the hiding of the corpse, amongst other things, there's strong witnesses against it, right?
Yes.
So when I read this line on page 12, Torgerson, middle, sir, what do you want? What do you want me from me? Did I read that right?
Yes.
That's after Detective Holt says the ball is in your court. Those are her words after he's been confronted with this evidence, right?
Yes.
You say, Cole, well, you, Torgerson, what are you asking? Cole, we're telling you, Torgerson, the unintelligible, Cole, you're telling us, Torgerson, no, wait, whoa. Cole, okay, Holtz, what's your explanation of this? Torgerson, wait a minute. You're giving me all this, but you're not asking me what you want. what are you asking for? Am I reading this right?
Yes.
Holtz, what's your explanation of this? Torgerson, not going to speak on that, but what are you asking for? Cole, well, that's Torgerson. I'm not going to give Cole. This is what we're finding out. Torgerson, I'm not going to give a statement. Cole, this is what we're finding. This is what we're finding out. Torgerson, speak on that. I mean, I'm not going to incriminate myself on that. Holtz, well, that's fine, but you know all along, and you have known all along as a father, Chris, and I believe you have. Torgerson, I understand. No emotional. You attack me like that. I understand the situation. Holtz, I'm not attacking you at all. Torgerson, I'm not. Holtz, Chris, all we want is to bring Stephanie home. That's it. Torgerson, I know that. Holtz, and you can help us do that. And you can potentially help yourself by doing that. Because this has happened. This has happened. They've both given us statements. They haven't had contact with each other for 4 years. That's not altogether true, but did I read that right?
Yes.
Torgerson, who's that? Holtz, Andrea and Rich. He left, right, in November. Torgerson, silent. Holtz, him and Andrea didn't talk to each other at all. But you know what? When Andrea confessed and we flew out to California to talk to Rich, Rich's story was the exact same as Andrea's. And it's going to be hard for a jury to understand. And if you can't, Torgerson, I hope, show some remorse. Torgerson, all that, but it's not about the remorse, Holtz. And you know, if you do or you don't feel bad for what happened, Torgerson, and it's not Holtz. Maybe she had it coming. Torgerson, it's not that. Holtz, silent, Torgerson, and that's not even that. That's not even feeling bad. Holtz, what is it? In the past, you've always taken responsibility. Torgerson, I know, and I am. I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to take responsibility. Don't think I'm not, but Holtz, so tell us what happened. Torgerson, I can't tell you. I want to talk to a lawyer. I guess now the thing is, let's go to Wausau, huh? Holtz, not today. Torgerson, huh? Holtz, not today. Read that right?
Yes.
Top of 15. Torgerson, you have to take me. Holtz, but who? Torgerson, I want to talk to my lawyer, and then Holtz, okay, who do you want to talk to? Torgerson, I want to talk. Holtz, we'll get him down here right now. Torgerson, huh? Holtz, who's your lawyer? Torgerson, I don't have one. My appointed lawyer on this situation, had to resign because of conflict of interest. Cole, let me just clarify. You're saying if you could talk to your attorney, potentially you would. Torgerson, right now you have Holtz. Cole, help us. Torgerson, I'll take you to her. I read that right?
Yes.
Jump to 21. 7 speakers up. Torgerson, this is difficult and it is sensitive. So I got to, Cole, right. Torgerson, defend myself. Cole, and we have, Torgerson, myself to an extent. I mean, because from what I've seen there, everybody is not. Somebody is not saying the whole story. Holtz, okay. Torgerson, so that's why I say I need a lawyer. I read that right?
Yes.
Bottom of 22. Torgerson, 4 speakers up, Lieutenant. I don't mind talking. I don't. Cole, no, I know, but Torgerson, I'm not trying to be. Cole, no. Holtz, we know. Cole, but you understand how. Torgerson, I have to make myself safe. Did I read that right?
Yes.
I just have a minute, Judge? I'm just about done. I just want to think about something. That's all I have, Nate.
Peter?
Yes, there's one moment. Jumping back a little ways, Lieutenant, one of the first areas of conversation that council had with you was about the Jeep reenactment, and I only think I have one question about that. When he was asking you about your original, yours and Detective Holtz's original viewing of the footage going by the Denmark, he indicated there was a vehicle going west on Thomas heading towards Stephanie Lowe's apartment. That vehicle turned south, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And that would be the direction in relation, or that would have been heading toward Stephanie Lowe's house?
correct. Her address right there on 7th Avenue and West Thomas Street, so you'd have to turn on to 7th Avenue if you were going there.
So in the vehicles that you were taking note of were ones that would have been turning in the direction of Stephanie's home?
Yes.
I am not going to rehash these interviews, but I did, in the first interview, on page 18, that being, do you still have all the letters?
I have the last one.
I don't have it. I'm at the November 7th interview right now, where it starts on page 18. And then going back again to the calls to E, Mr. Torgerson indicated that if he did, it would have or could have been a pocket dial. It goes into page 19. Is that an accurate assessment of what Mr. Torgerson was relaying to you?
Yes.
Now, did you become aware through the investigation and through interviews what kind of phone Mr. Torgerson's phone was? Was it like one of those just solid block phones or a flip phone or something else?
My understanding was a flip phone is what was eventually found out.
And we're old enough, we've been around in the flip phone generation. Did those have buttons on the outside as far as you were aware?
Not that I'm aware of.
And just based on your life experience, did having a flip phone make pocket dials more or less likely or impossible?
I would say impossible.
In that same interview on page 24, Attorney Wilmoth went through the information of Mr. Torgerson indicating that he had helped clean and had mentioned the mop. This interview took place on November 7th of 2011. Law enforcement had obtained samples from the mop found in Stephanie Lowe's apartment much closer in time to the time of her disappearance, correct?
Yes.
And Mr. Torgerson was not aware of that at all, was he?
No.
At least not from law enforcement.
No.
And so when he indicated that his DNA would probably be everywhere and admitted to cleaning, and with your understanding that that was denied by Mr. Mahomes, based on your training and experience as a detective, did that indicate anything to you about what Mr. Torgerson was doing?
But Judge, foundation, I mean, I think this is a matter of the jury's determination on how to take the statements. I don't think the detective or lieutenant should be allowed to analyze the statements.
Further?
I think it's a fair question based on what his feeling of what was happening. The jury can make their own conclusions, but I was wondering throughout the course of the investigation what he was thinking.
What the lieutenant's feelings were, I don't think that's a proper inquiry. I think this is a matter for the jury.
Okay.
And then again on page 62 of that same interview, We were talking about those phone calls again, and as Attorney Wilmoth indicated, it was fabricating or a bogus secondary person. Is that what your thoughts were at the same time?
My thoughts were that I believed his explanation for those calls in the 3 a.m., 4 a.m. hour, accidentally calling the wrong E in his phone. Yes, I feel those. My belief were that those were lies to us.
Okay, and moving to the December, well, before I do that, a moment. Okay. In that November 7th interview, before we go forward, on page 69, Attorney Wilmoth elicited the information that there was no shortage of suspects in the case. And I think this may have already come in through a different witness, but if you wouldn't mind, Detective, could you read the remainder of that statement on the bottom of page 61? It was your statement to Mr. Torgerson.
69, you mean?
That's 69.
Yes. I said there's no shortage of possibilities here for suspects, okay? You've kind of risen towards the top of the list because of things that he's already brought up to you. So, you know, unfortunately, it just, you know, Chris sitting here saying I didn't do it isn't quite, you know, yeah, we need to take your story, understand what you were telling us you did that night, but we want to look and try to corroborate things independently, okay? So that helps verify that you're telling us the truth right now.
And Mr. Torgerson indicated that he understood?
He said, right, I understand.
Moving now to the December 21st interview, I'm going back apologetically to the phone calls. On page 33, there's more discussion about the phone calls that Mr. Torgerson was making that night, and I'm looking at the middle of the page. Mr. Torgerson is saying that he had other E in my numbers in my phone. Is that correct?
Yes.
And he's still, because Attorney Wilmoth directed you to the top of the page where Detective Holtz had asked, and then here you called Eric and Stephanie, as we can see, 11:47, the phone call. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And then Mr. Torgerson says, mm-hmm. And then Holtz says, maybe you're trying to get some dope or something, and Mr. Torgerson says, probably, right?
Yes.
But then right after that is the line that I just mentioned where he says, I don't know, like I said, I had other E in my numbers in my phone, right?
A few lines down, yes.
So Mr. Torgerson is still denying intentionally making contact with Eric Mahone.
Yes. His cell phone.
Cell phone, thank you. Now, in looking at page 38, and Attorney Wilmoth mentioned in the interview that when he had originally talked to Detective Wilgernese very close in time to the disappearance of Stephanie, that he was not really excited about talking about his drug activity, right?
Right.
But now in these interviews, both in November and December, he's being very candid and very straightforward about his drug activity, right?
He's certainly talking about it more freely at this point.
But even though he's very freely admitting drug activity and drug transactions, he's still denying that he would call E's cell phone for drugs, right?
That night?
That night.
Correct.
Yes, just specifically to October 10th of 2010.
Right.
And so on page 38, directing your attention to the middle of the page, Detective Holtz says, "So Chris, can you tell us why you were calling Eric and Stephanie at 3:46 in the morning?" Torgerson says, "If I did, it was a mistake because I was not trying to call them." Holtz says, "You weren't trying to get dope." Torgerson says, "I was trying to get dope, but not from them." Holtz says, "Why not?" Torgerson says, "Because he was locked up." You said, "But she had the dope, and he said you would." Torgerson says, "I didn't know she had no dope." You said, "He said you would buy from her." Torgerson said, "I would buy from her when he would arrange it." And then we went into the issue of some of the things that Attorney Wilmoth indicated on cross. But moving into page 39, there's more conversation about Mr. Torgerson and whether or not he was attempting to get in touch with Stephanie through E's cell phone. And directing to the middle of the page, Torgerson says, and are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. "So you just said out of your own mouth that he would arrange it, but how was he going to arrange it?" Referring to E, right?
Yes.
And you said no before he got locked up. Torgerson says, "Right." You say, "I'm saying." Torgerson says that I'm not going to do that. You wait, don't respond. Torgerson says, "Because that's his girl. I'm not going to call her and ask for no dope if it's not arranged by him." You say, "Why is that?" Torgerson says, "Because I wouldn't do that. It's disrespectful." You say, "Explain that to me because I don't understand." Torgerson says, "I talked to him." Moving into page 40. You say, "It's disrespectful. I mean, you want dope. She wants money." Torgerson says, "Because I know Eric. I don't know Stephanie." You say, "Okay." Torgerson says, "And that's how you do things. That's how the street game is. You call the supplier and the person that you know. You don't go behind somebody's back." So Mr. Torgerson was indicating to you in December of 2011, still, even though he's coming forward with his drug activities, that out of respect for E, he would not call Stephanie to get drugs, right?
Right.
And then again, at the bottom of page 40, when Detective Holtz indicates that Mr. Torgerson accidentally called E's cell phone many times, Mr. Torgerson then says, "If it's Steph's, I did, yes, I accidentally did it. I did not mean to call Stephanie's phone or Eric's phone. I have, like I said, there's a couple of E's in my numbers in my phone." So even when he's coming forward about the drugs, he's still denying that he would call Stephanie through E's phone for drugs. That's my understanding. Is that yours?
Yes.
And also in that same conversation, Mr. Torgerson was saying that he did not know that she had dope. Through the course of your investigation, based on Mr. Torgerson's own statements, he admitted that he knew that she had dope at that point, correct?
Yes.
I don't think I have any other questions for you, sir.
Any requests?
Just a couple. On November 7, 2011, and December 21, 2011, Ferguson lies to you, right?
Yes.
He distances himself from Stephanie Lowe, clearly, right?
Yes.
From December 2011 to April 13, 2013, Richard Hawkins, we'll talk more about him tomorrow, distances himself from Stephanie Lowe.
Yes.
Lied to you.
Yes.
That's all I have.
Rest from the state?
No, I have nothing else, and I must have gotten a little excited earlier because I tried to rest before we were done. But I think now this baby can rest. Thank you.
Okay. It rests its case. We're going to recess until tomorrow morning at 8:30.
Thank you. I'll talk to you.
Will you be seated? Okay. Anything further we have to do today?
I don't think so, Judge.
Judge, just to preserve the issue, I will move to dismiss at the close of the state's case without argument.
Your Honor, the state would just indicate that we believe that there is sufficient evidence to show that there is a reasonable jury could find the defendant guilty of all counts, and we ask the court to find that.
And those grounds I will deny the motion. Okay. So I think we'll use this time well to, both sides to get everything in order tomorrow.
Yes, Judge.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Then I think we're done. I guess just that one instruction, 275, you had a difference? Well, for the record, we're not going to discuss, have any more testimony today.